Welcome back to another edition of Catching Up with Covenant. Today I'm meeting with the Barksdale siblings, Erin, Paige, and James. The Barksdales joined Covenant in 2015. Erin and James are both high school teachers. Tell us where you teach, what you teach, and how students are utilizing online learning in your class.
I teach at Wonderbear High School. I teach science. Students are utilizing online learning in my class to continue to take notes, to do labs, and to learn more about earth science.
I teach at Northgate High School. I'm the director of choral activities. My students are using Google Classroom for communication. I post a lot of enrichment activities. Some are music-based and some are not music-based. Some are more like personal exploration or creativity-based. But then I'm also using a video editing software to compile videos of my students singing their individual parts to create a virtual choir. It's a lot of work, but it's actually a skill that I'm really glad that I have now. So that's what I'm doing with my advanced ensemble, and if it works with them, then I'm gonna do it with my beginning mixed choir as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What are some pros and cons, would you say, of online learning from a teacher's perspective?
I would say I'll start with the pros. I have a lot of students that are what you call overachiever, and a pro for them is having kind of an unlimited time frame to perfect what they want to work on. So I have a lot of students that have gone above and beyond on these assignments that normally we would have like one day to work on, but they have about a week to work on it. So they're really being able to invest themselves into it and be creative and express themselves and really complete the assignment to their satisfaction, which is cool for me to see. I'd say about a third of my students do that, and that's really awesome. So that would be a pro, just them not having that time constriction. Also, another pro has just been the communication through technology. I've been able to reach out to a lot of families and just kind of learn more about these students that I wouldn't be able to, see or hear about normally. So that's another pro. Cons, it's a little bit more difficult than in person, I would say, for me, but definitely for her.
Yeah.
It kind of it kind of eliminates that face-to-face, that interaction, that accountability that you have with a student. And it's a little bit more difficult to hold a student, accountable for the work that they need to do. So,
Yeah, because you can kind of have a conversation in person and get them to be on your side, or to you can get them to come around and do what you're asking, or to be part of whatever group activity or whatever you're doing. But, you can't really control what they do if they're not in your classroom. At all. Obviously, you can't do it at all. So, so I feel like, and luckily, I'm not teaching a unit and rigor-based curriculum. I'm doing something a little bit more creative. So it's not like I have to really be on top of them and reach out and be like, you need to do this. You're gonna, this is a graded activity or not. But yeah, I think not having them in person, just to get them to do stuff, not just what we're teaching, but to get them to complete their assignments or to do anything, to interact with the content that you're posting is a lot more difficult because, there's a lot of stuff that is based on face-to-face chemistry in the classroom. You just don't have that when you're not in the classroom.
Right.
But I would say, that's a con for both of us sort of on a basic level, but a huge con for me is obviously I cannot do my instruction basically at all to the point where I'm completing any of my, teaching standards, state or national, because I'm not able to do a real rehearsal setting. So since they're not face-to-face and there is at this time no way to have an online virtual rehearsal that is productive or cohesive at all, I'm not really able to do what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's a little bit difficult. But I would say a pro is that my students have really, I think, learned to crave social interaction, and they're excited to talk to the other students in my classes and to me, either, via just, email or group me conversations or back and forth comments on Google Classroom, or in Google Hangouts or whatever. They're saying things like, I never thought I'd say this, but I miss school. And it's not just I miss my my cooking class or my drama class or my choir class. It's like, I miss school. I want to go back and if I could just go and sit in my calculus classroom, which is sad, but it's also a good thing because I think it's reframing what's important, and they're understanding that like structure and learning in general, absorbing information is a good thing, and it stimulates you as a human being. So I think that's a really strange positive side effect that's coming out of this.
And that's the way we were created, right? Is to have interaction with one another. God created woman for man. Yeah. God created woman for man because man was lonely. I mean, he had all the world to interact with, but he didn't have another human to interact with. And so, absolutely, we were created to have interaction with each other. So, what are some things that you all are, or how are you using your time to improve yourselves right now?
I'll start. So I have to do work. I have to be available for communication between 9 and 2, which is very minimal. So really the rest of the day I'm available to do whatever, whatever I wish to do. And I've been playing with and training my dog, taking him on awesome walks. I've been exercising more. I've been hanging out with it and interacting with my family more, playing more board games with them. We did family worship on Sunday, which was awesome. I've been going fishing a lot, just lots of things that normally wouldn't be a priority. But since we have a lot of time, I've just been able to do. I don't know if those are self-improvements or not, but those are just awesome things that I've been able to do that normally wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah. Same for me. I feel like I've, I enjoy doing yoga and hiking and doing art at a very basic level, visual art at a basic level, and cooking and doing all these things. But it's like, especially with my schedule being an arts teacher where I teach all day, but then also my day continues until 6:30 or 7 o'clock most nights because of rehearsals and building sets and painting and, whatever we're doing for whatever project we're working on, or, coachings for voice lessons or whatever. So having a time where I can be at home or do whatever I need to do or want to do has been, it's strange because we have too much time almost, but at the same time, it's like, it's been really refreshing to be able to explore anything,
right? And it's been nice to attend to the things that we kind of have to push off because you just don't have time.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, I'm just gonna push my oil change a little further and a little further just because I don't have time. It's like, well, now we have all the time in the world, or I've been wanting to get back into doing this or whatever, and it's like now we have time. And I feel like we've been doing more art stuff. Like you've been doing chalk and painting, and because Paige is, I don't know if you know this, but Paige is a big visual artist.
Huh,
she's
awesome.
I'm the musician, but she's definitely the visual artist. And you've had time to do tons of stuff and painting. Yeah.
And I did a little bit of
sculpting with clay. Yeah. So
that is awesome. Well, Paige, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Good. You enjoying having Erin and James home with you more?
Yeah, it is really nice to be able to see them.
I bet that's awesome. So what's your perspective? What's the pros and cons of online learning as a student's perspective?
So some of the pros are that I can do my assignments and my projects at my own pace. Like if something takes a really long time to do, I can spread it out over the week. And if it's like easy, then I can just do it in one day. That's nice.
Because you don't have to wait around for
teachers.
Teachers or other kids to get their stuff together.
Yeah. Other pros are that I get to see you guys a lot.
That's awesome.
I get to stay home and
spend time with cats.
Yeah.
Spend time with animals.
Yeah. And same with like exploring more activities that I didn't think I would want, like have time to do ever. Some cons probably are that if I have a question, I can't just like walk up to my teacher and ask it. I have to email her or him, and they don't always respond the quickest. And sometimes it's hard to focus if there's not a teacher giving instructions directly.
I feel like it's hard to focus, and I am the teacher. Like there are times where I sit down to write assignments on whatever, and it's like I can't, it's like, because I'm not sitting in an office with real shoes and pants on and my, the bell didn't ring. And it's like, I can't focus myself to do work sometimes because there's no structure.
Yeah. I would not do well during this time if I was a student. I wouldn't do online learning.
Yeah, I'm so glad I'm not a student.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, and you miss your friends too, right?
Right. I do my FaceTime with my science class sometimes, or with my Bible study, or have another one for my gym.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. How are your folks doing?
Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah.
It's nice. If I have a question, I can just go ask Mom. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they're loving having everybody home too, right?
Yeah, and I feel like, since our mom already works at home already, but there's aspects obviously of her job where she has to like go out and do stuff, but
She doesn't have to pick
yeah. So like,
anymore.
I feel like maybe her work schedule is a little bit more flexible and a little bit more like she doesn't have to start and stop so much, but there are challenges, of course. And then Dad works from home on and off anyway, so.
Right.
I feel like on a whole, we've been very blessed to have jobs that are a lot more flexible than a lot of other people's. Like,
That's awesome.
we haven't, our hours are cut entirely. We haven't had any pay cuts. We haven't had any, we have both had pretty good administration that have been flexible and lenient and understanding. But honestly, Paige has a lot more work than we're,
Yeah, Paige is no joke. The Fayette County, right?
Yeah.
Fayette County
Fayette
does not
County
play
takes it
around.
seriously.
The strange thing is they give us a lot, but they don't grade. Like, they
Well,
don't count
because they're not allowed to grade yet.
Yeah.
As of today, updating soon.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But yeah, it's weird. Obviously, this whole thing is weird. I would say every like 29 minutes, I have another real, like, it washes over me. Like, this is not an extended spring break. This is not summer vacation. This is, it's April 13th and this is life. And it's just, it's very odd. But overall, I'd say we're coming from a very privileged perspective where, we've been able to sort of adjust quite easily and have a lot of positive.
Very easily, yeah.
A positive outcome, I would say.
Yeah, and I feel, I particularly feel accommodated. Obviously, our work has kind of shifted, but also, having online worship, we've been watching a lot of Disney Plus. Everything's really at our fingertips.
Yeah.
So it's not
even like we've suffered, honestly.
Right.
It's hard being away from my students. Like, I miss my students. Like, I have a very different, we were talking about this earlier, a very different classroom culture than James does, because mine is very much more of like a family, friend, hanging out, building things together type of deal, whereas yours is a little bit more structured because it needs to be. So I'm very sad missing my students. And I know that a lot of my students, like my class, not because of me, but just because of the type of class that it is the only place where they're not like overwhelmed with school. So I know that a lot of them are missing that. So I'm thankful that though it hasn't been hard overall, that is my, hardest thing, just being away from my students. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us. What's the big plans for today?
I'm gonna watch Iron Man.
Paige is gonna watch.
Nice.
We might go fishing a little bit. We might go walk the dog.
Yeah.
Some outdoor stuff, but otherwise.
Try to get tired. I've been having issues going to sleep because I'm not tired enough at night. So maybe some jumping jacks. I don't know. Maybe I'll do Paige's swim workout with her.
There you go. Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us, and I'm certain that our Covenant family will look forward and will be excited to hear from you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We'll talk soon.
Alrighty.
All right.
All right. See ya.